Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to learn how to create a distribution plot using a rugplot function. And firstly, we will understand what is rugplot function. So, to visualize the distribution of the data, the rugplot is used. Basically, a rugplot is a type of a plot which is used to plot a data for a single quantitative variable as a marks along a axis. You can also call the marks as a ticks in case of a rug plot. Basically, these ticks or marks are typically used to plot the marginal distribution along the x and y axis. So, when there are a great occurrence of the data point, we see a greater density of these ticks or marks, and when there are a less occurrence of the data points, we see a occasional ticks or marks. So in Seaborn library, to create a rug plot, we call the rug plot function, and the syntax of the function is Seaborn dot rug plot, and in parentheses we pass different parameters. So I will explain you these parameters. The first two parameters are x and y. These are the data points that define the x and y axis location. The next one is hue. You all know that it is a grouping variable that will produce a components with a different colors. The next one is height. It is a proportion of axis extent covered by the each rug element, and by default its value is 0.025. The next one is palette. It generates a variable with different color map value. And the last one is data. You know that it is the data set that we are going to use. And to learn this concept completely, we will see different example using the rugplot function. I will show you the examples first. So here are the example. You can see that firstly I call the set function as I want to change the appearance of the plot. So I pass the style as a keyword argument and set its value to white grid. The next I call the rugplot function of the Seaborn library with SNS alias name as I want to visualize the total data points in the Texas dataset. So I set the value of x to the total. This total is the name of the column. And then I set data to the data underscore set. You all know that this data underscore set reads the Texas dataset. And then I call the show function as I want to visualize this plot on the user screen. So now I execute this cell and show you the output. How's the plot look? You can see that this shows a ticks or a marks at the axis location. As we visualize the rug plot only with the x-axis data point, it shows only the marks at the axis of the x-axis. So you can see that its x-axis represent the total, and these are the ticks which is represented on the x-axis. And as I told you, when there is a greater occurrence of the data point, we see a greater density of these ticks. So you can see that from starting 0 to 75, we have a greater occurrence of the data point. So we have a greater density of these ticks. And when there are the less occurrence of the data points, we see some occasional ticks. So from 75 beyond, we see less occurrence of a ticks, and because of this reason there are just occasional ticks. So now we will move ahead and see one more example. So this time I again change the appearance to the white grid. Then I call the rugplot function as this time I want to visualize the relationship between the distance and the fair data point in the Texas dataset. Additionally, I want to change the height of the text, so I pass the height as a keyword argument and I set its value to 0.12, and then I call the show function as I want to visualize the plot. So now I execute this code and show you the output. Now you can see that on both the axes it shows the text. At the x-axis it represents the distance, at the y-axis it represents the fare. As I pass x and y both parameter to the function, it shows ticks at the both axis location. And by default you can see from the above output, the height of the text is too small. But when I change the height to 0.12, the height of the text increased and now it is clearly visible. So from this you can say that there is a greater occurrence of the data points from 0 to 20 in case of a distance. So there are a high density of these texts, and in case of a fear there is a greatest occurrence from 0 to near about here 75. So there are a greater density of these ticks. Now we will see one more example, and this time I call the rugplot function as I want to visualize the relationship between the total and the tip of the Texas dataset. Additionally, I pass a hue keyword argument to the group color data points with different colors. And I also want to generate the variables with different color map values. So I pass the palette as a keyword argument and set its value to set2. Then I call the show function of the pyplot module, which is from the matplotlib, and I execute this cell. Now I show you the output. Now you can see that it show the text at x-axis and the y-axis location with two colors, and these colors are depends upon the color of the texts. And here you can see that the bluish line represent the yellow taxi and this orange line represent the green color taxi, and these color are come from the palette which is a set2. So from this you can conclude that in case of the yellow color taxi we have a greater occurrence of a data points from the 0 to 50 value, and in case of the green taxi we have a greater occurrence of the data points from the 0 to near about 78 value. And in case of a tip, the greater occurrence of the green color taxi is from 0 to near about 8, and in case of the yellow color taxi we have a greater occurrence from 0 to near about 13 in case of a tip. So from this we have learned about the rug plots, and in the next video we will learn about the regression plots in Seaborn library.